had such great feedback of people saying they have never actually seen her. And her story is so amazing, you know, the bravery, the ups and downs, everything that she went through with Gary. So that would be really cool. All right, we're 1.5 minutes away. Yeah, I'll start recording just before that. There's a little bit of a delay on the feed, but you guys can start on the hour. It's going to start, and then if there are any questions, we've already got a chat moment. Rian says, can't wait for these two leadership coaches to chat about leadership. We've already got an audience going. There should be about 100 people registered for the session, so we should hopefully have 100 or more on.
How many total are registered for this family reunion?
1,100, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
It's our best yet. All right, we are a minute away.
Agents and leadership signed up for our session.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself and put my camera off. We have 45 seconds to go. And yeah, if you want to share your screen, that functionality is there now, so it's up to you.
Do you want me to do our pictures on the intro screen and come out of it, Sandra?
Yeah.
Cool. Have fun. I'm going to be right here. I'm not going to log off. So if you do need me, I am here, but I'll post the questions for you.
Say when.
Cool. I can see your screen.
Just a second, guys. Sorry, we are 12 seconds away.
Okay. 10 seconds. Off you go.
Hey, good morning. Are we live?
We are. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Leadership Rocketship. My name is Tara Smith. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky. I work in Cincinnati, Ohio, and have a really cool opportunity, have had an opportunity to operate in a lot of different leadership positions at Keller Williams. I started as a real estate agent and very quickly got asked to step into a team leader position in Lexington. We launched a market center in 2014, and that office went on to be the #1 market center launch with Keller Williams Realty International that year, which was a lot of fun. We grew very quickly and have since transitioned into several different roles. I've worked as an agent coach with MAPS, a leadership coach with MAPS. I'm an operating principal currently in a market center, and I'm an active team leader in a market center. So leadership and growth has been a rocket ship in my life for the last 5 years. And I'm so excited to get to share some things that we've done to launch our market centers. And I'm really honored to be here with one of my favorite people and one of my closest friends in the whole world, Sandra Candler. So kick us off, Sandra. Tell us about you.
Thank you, Tara. That was such an amazing introduction. I love every time I get to hear all of the ways that you poured into others. It's one of my favorite things about you. And I think one of the things I noticed about you before we were friends in person and we were friends virtually, which was kind of nice. I'm Sandra Candler, and I have been with Keller Williams since November 2013. I was for 5 years and am back now with the Keller Williams Fort Mill Market Center. We finished last year at number 29 in profit share in the top 4% of the company. And that's with me coming back in October. So we will do much better than that this year. I've had the opportunity to serve alongside some amazing leaders in this company to help serve their agents at a high level. It's what I'm very passionate about. This company's totally changed my life, both personally and professionally over the years. I am a MAPS leadership coach. I am a Quantum Leap instructor, and I do have a very soft spot in my heart for all of the leadership and agents in South Africa. Tara and I actually have the opportunity to coach one of the South African market centers together, and we really enjoy doing that. So hopefully in the future, we'll be able to continue to pour into all of you even more. We're really excited about this topic. Helping other people grow because of the gratitude we have for all of the people around us helping us grow is something that Tara and I are both passionate about. And our goal is for you to be able to take away something from the session today that will help you in your business, whether you are in leadership serving agents or whether you're an agent serving clients. So we will get started.
All right, we're going to come off screen share so you guys can see our faces. Sandra, why don't you kick us off into like the first part of what we want to dive into today?
Awesome. So we have about 10 topics today. We really had about 50 and we narrowed it down to 10. So the first topic is going to be around selecting the leader that you're going to be in business with. And today we're going to talk a lot about one of the most powerful partnerships, which is the team leader and the MCA, or Market Center Administrator. And if you're an agent, it would be a similar relationship to the leader of the business or the rainmaker and the director of operations or their right-hand person, their partner in the business. So the first topic is energy, mindset, the Y4C2Ts. What is culture and values alignment? When we were talking about what's most important when you're looking at who to get in business with, we were both really clear on it being mindset and culture and seeking out people based on that instead of skill. And skill is important, and experience is important, and intelligence is important. However, if they are not a culture and values fit, then nothing else is really going to work because you'll just be fighting that the whole time. So one of the things that we know is Gary has in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book an energy plan. And we agreed that the people don't already have to be interested or don't already have to be implementing that exactly in their life. However, it's really helpful when you get into business with another leader that is interested in applying that in their life in some way and open to you coaching them and consulting them around that, because you want to apply that every single morning so that each of you can be a whole person. What are your thoughts around that, Tara?
Yeah, I am in complete agreement. I've got two thoughts around just building a dynamic team. And the first one is, and Diana Kokoska taught me this one, and it's the values alignment. And the values alignment, what the values alignment tells us is that each one of us have real specific values. So for me, integrity and grit, and I've got 4 or 5 values that are important for me, and it's how I operate. It shows up in my operations. And Sandra, you could have other values that are also great, that are different. Like, yours could be thoroughness. It could be honesty. It could be some other values, all of them awesome things. And yet when we build a team that we want to be a rocket ship, we've got to be in alignment, because if I show up every day and my value is grit, I'm going to show up inside of grit every day, and that's how we're going to execute. And you might be showing up in a different way every day. And so the alignment of your team is so critical. You got to get clear as a leader and as an OP team leader, MCA team, what are our values as a team, and then you hire people that are in alignment with your values. So that's critical. The other thing is, because you mentioned energy, these agents, we're here to serve real estate agents, right? And if you are a leader in a market center, you're probably not getting paid enough to do it for any other reason than you love to serve people. And when those agents run in the door and we get 2 or 3 minutes of their time, we got to send them out with a full tank, which means we've got to come in with a full tank. So we can't really have bad days as leaders. You can, and yet you've got to be disciplined enough to correct your bad days so that you have a tank full enough to go fill others. So, I would say how you show up as a leader in your team is critical, and also how your team shows up is a dynamic that the market center feels all over the place. So set the parameters and then show up every day inside of those.
What's interesting about that, Tara, is you can kind of tell when you talk to someone in the interview process, because it all starts there, right? We have to get really clear on who we like to be in business with, the kind of person, not what's on their resume. It's a combination. And you can tell in the interview process when you listen between the lines if someone has that grit, or one of my non-negotiables is a whatever it takes mindset, a whatever it takes attitude. There's no such thing as it's not my job. And we're all responsible. And although we're not perfect, we're responsible for the impact that we leave after the conversation's over with our team members, with our agents. And I'm only looking to get into business with people who think that way. So one of the things that I would give to all of you as an action item to take away from that part of the conversation is get really clear on what your 5 non-negotiables are for what's important to you and who you would like to be in business with, and make all of your hiring decisions, your leadership team, your agents through that lens.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's really good. And, you know, the next part of that is we've got this team and we're all on board to bring the magic and bring the energy every day. I'd love to share just a little, I had a real aha moment this year. I'm in a team leader role and I'm coming in the market center every day, and we have very, very clear goals on our GPS around where we want to grow. So we've got gross goals, we've got net goals, we've got productivity goals, and it's literally keeping me up at night. So I come in one day, I've had a realization that I feel like I'm the only one pulling the wagon a little bit. So I come in and I sit down with my staff and I get out a flip chart and I say, guys, I just want to ask you a question. What is our goal? Like, what's the goal? And that's what it sounded like. It was crickets. And so then finally, my agent services said, well, I think the goal is to gross, 10 agents a month. I think that might be it. And I said, well, that's part of it. That's part of it. And I laid out, our goal is a gross number and it's a net number. And I started writing down each person's job description. So when we build an awesome training calendar, where does that impact the goal? Well, that impacts it in it probably at net, or it impacts it in, we can recruit to that, right? So when you have a dynamic team, I think it's really, really critical that each person understands the market center's goals, and we're talking about them every day, and then they can go back to their job and they can have an understanding of, when I put mail in mailboxes and I do it with integrity and grit and whatever it takes, and when I make a great training calendar and when I commit to my appointments and hit them, that's because our team has a goal and collectively we're going to get there. And we've actually even set up compensation around the goal, so we operate as a team. So I'd love to hear in your market center, Sandra, how you guys how you look at that goal together, how you set it, and what that looks like inside of a dynamic leadership team.
Thank you so much. I'm really passionate about the way this happens. I've certainly been a part of it not happening successfully over time and it happening well. And one of the ways that it happens well is around October each year. And don't worry, if you haven't done this yet, you could do it next week, right? So, but get it on the calendar. Is everyone get together, get offsite, and get really clear on what's important to every single member of the leadership team and staff, financially and personally, for the year, and build the goal that's going to support that happening. Because then you have buy-in and contribution from every member of the team, and they understand the benefit it's going to have for the person next to them. So on the days that you don't feel like showing up, you look at the goal and you remember what that's going to do for each person and what's on their 411. And I know we'll get to that topic later. And then you remember that if you choose not to show up today because you don't feel like it, you're not only letting yourself down, because that's easy to do, you're letting every other member of your team down and what's important to them. So I recommend just an annual business planning retreat where you have a little bit of fun and a lot of business planning, where everyone walks away from that clear on what the goal is and how it's going to impact the entire team. And then also a 15th day protocol. So if any given month we're off track on the goal, we know what it looks like for us to be all hands on deck and every single person contributing to the growth.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, I think that when you can put together a leadership team where you support each other, and we don't look at each other and go, well, we didn't hit the goal, team leader. Well, we didn't hit that goal, MCA. When we all own it together, it's a really powerful place. And that's the piece that will move your team forward the fastest. I love that. So let's talk about organization. Like what we're talking about teams. What do these teams look like? And you mentioned the TL MCA dynamic. I'd love to hear, like, Sandra, how's that show up for you?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've seen a lot of versions of this as a MAPS leadership coach, as I'm sure you have. So there are a lot of versions where it's very much a hierarchy. And yet I view the way of operating for the team leader and the MCA as a partnership. And I find that when each shows up as a partner to the other, you can go fast, far. And anytime you're off on that, and you can kind of look at the relationship and ask yourself, am I showing up as a partner right now? you can feel and notice the result difference. And so it's very important to be a partnership. I actually view the team leader as the person who is responsible for connecting with the top 20, being the local market expert, and attracting other like-minded, high-minded top producers to the team. And the MCA as the person that's responsible for the agent experience and the operations, and ensuring that we're getting referrals from our own agents because of what they are experiencing and what they are producing and the impact that it's having on their life because they're with us. So I'm a big proponent of the team leaders sharing all of the information they get from the recruiting conversations about that recruit with the MCA and the operations team, so that they actually have the opportunity to deliver on it and hold the person accountable to what they came to us to get.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. So if we do it that way, we have balance, right? In our market center, we have, the way I kind of see it is the team leader is the driver. It's, just like in a mega team, you've got your mega and then you've got that operations person. So the team leader's setting the vision, they've got the ideas, and the MCA is kind of the one that's doing the day-to-day. If we've got a staff, the team leader understands the job descriptions and what everybody's doing. The MCA is likely managing the tasks. Are we getting done everything on these 411s, right? We have in our market center, we have like a recruiting team, right? So the team leader recruits caps, and we'll go into a lot more detail on this, but they're recruiting caps and megas. Our PC coach recruits quarters and half cappers, and then our agent services handles all the new licensee systems. So anything recruiting related operationally, the team leader holds that accountable. And anything service, retention, or operations related, the MCA holds accountable. So it's a great partnership in that organization, because you and me on my team, on our team, we're going to hit the goal, and we're going to do it through succeeding through each other and our team. So again, be really clear on what everybody's doing and who is managing and supervising who right out of the gate, so those expectations can be set and held accountable. So yeah. All right, so let's talk systems. You mentioned that you mentioned that you guys really strive, at least operationally, to bring an awesome experience. I can share a little bit on our side. We have modeled our systems after the book, The Go-Giver, which is just literally like, how do we bring the most value that we possibly can to our people, and how do we give them a 5-star experience? And when you bring an agent in, when a team leader is sitting in front of a recruit, if they don't know what's going to happen behind them when they sign them, if they can't in their mind believe they're going to have a 5-star onboarding, transition, and first 90 days, that team leader, consciously or subconsciously, is going to hit the brakes. And we don't want to do that, right? So we've got to interrogate our systems and ask ourselves, do we have a 5-star experience throughout our market center? And I'm just going to throw out a couple of systems that we use. And if you guys are taking notes, just write them down. But critical systems, you need an onboarding system. You need an offboarding system. Both of those are market center internal, like putting them into a Facebook group, putting them into, your accounting, all of that stuff. You need a first 90 days, a 30, 60, 90, a tracker for appointments for your recruiting team. We call that a growth tracker. Your MCA is going to be reporting all the things MCAs report, which is cap management, daily company dollar in and out, the training tracker. You need some systems to support your ALC and engage your ALC in their committees. And then obviously the calendar is a critical system. So, and then your goals. Do you have a GPS 411 and calendars to support all of that? So those are the basic fundamental systems in our market center. And then we grade, are we giving a 5-star experience through these systems, through reviews, right? So that's another system. So Sandra, what are some things you guys use as a market center systems wise to ensure that your agents, we're reselling them as they're joining each step of the way? They're like, man, I made a great decision, and they're having a 5-star experience.
I love this topic. So you just gave a lot of the basic systems that every single market center would succeed when they have them. And one of the opportunities that we found during COVID and during finding different ways to do business virtually, both for our agents and for the market center, were the little things that connect businesses to people when they're not able to come in person into the office. So we do have an onboarding process in Google Drive, very similar to the one that you have as well. And we've just got together as a team and asked the question, what does it look like for this to be an even better experience? How can we increase it 1% a day with one additional system, one additional touch? And so some things that I would add into what you're already talking about doing during the onboarding process is we do a get to know you survey right when they're joining and doing the paperwork so that we can find out little things about them, like their favorite candy, like if they have children, what their hobbies are, so that we know that in advance and all of the leadership team has a record of that. So we know who to connect them with in the pods that we have. And so we know what to talk to them about, or we know how to support them when there's virtual school. So we have all of that information about them up front. We also have little points in the first 90-day process that we will write a thank you note. And we have those systems inside of our command that we just created last month, right? So you may use a Google Sheet for that. You can use, Natasha has a question of what was the name of the book for you. I think she did Be Our Guest. Oh, sorry, Go Giver. Go Giver is one of my favorite books too. I'm so glad you mentioned that one. There's also another book called Be Our Guest that you can take a look at that talks about the Disney experience. It's really great. And there's a book called The Power of Moments. So we're just going to stack you up on your growth plan for the whole year on books here. So The Power of Moments just talks about little tiny moments and how you can make that moment special. And when your entire team that's serving your agents is clear on that, then you can look for little ways to take extra care in a phone conversation, in person, on Zoom. And then one of the things I wrote down on the topic of ALC is this year, we decided to have each ALC member create a less than 1 minute exciting commercial for their committee. And those commercials are going to be inserted into the onboarding process for each agent to select which committee they'd like to be a part of. So that's an additional system. And then one last thing, the promise. So if any of you have heard the promise script from Bold for listings, we've actually written out a promise script for the onboarding process. And it's very short and it just promises what the experience will be. And it sets the expectation that they are going to want to build their profit share tree as a result of this experience, so that when we ask for referrals along the way, they already know we're going to.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm taking notes as you're talking on ways we can top grade our just our level of service, because the thing is when we bring somebody into a market center and there's a hiccup the first day, and then there's a hiccup the second day, and we forgot this, and I never learned what an ALC committee was, and this person never called and welcomed me. What's happening is they're deselecting every step of the way, versus we nail it and they go, man, they're on it. I made a great decision. And so that's where we want to be, because we can do that through systems, and we can do that through people, and we can do it through service. So,
I wanted to say one more thing real quick. So neither Tara or I are sitting here having a perfect experience that's happened, right? We've had a lot of failures. And one of my favorite things that we can use in those failure conversations, whether you're in leadership or an agent, is the language of labs, and coming from a space of contribution and interest in improving constantly. And whenever you have that language when there's an issue or a challenge, and just share, hey, we're constantly labbing this to make sure that we can improve on it. So we'd love your suggestions on how to make it better. Anytime there's an issue, that's usually received very warm, and people get excited about helping make things better. So that's always a way that you can approach a challenge.
Yeah. And I will add to, how do you know when you're missing a system or an experience? It's when you're reacting. So everything we're talking about, when you said that, I'm like, this is all failure that's like taught us what we need, because the first time it happens, you go, whoa, what was that? what happened? The second time we've got a pattern and we go, okay, at this point, this agent is ahead of us and we've missed a really critical piece of their experience and we need to go back and fix our system to support them. So start somewhere. Just start your systems, and you can always top grade them. You can go in and go deeper and you can make them better. But until you've run 10 or 20 agents through a system, we don't even really know what works. So don't get into paralysis overthinking, how do I make a perfect system? Just start with it and then make it better as you grow.
That's
right. So
We've
let's
seen-
talk. Yeah, go ahead.
People get paralyzed by it, and you just can't.
Yeah, just trying to make it perfect is not, Bold teaches us this. We bring brand new agents in and we say, go use the script, and they're out writing business, their first week in the business, and it's not perfect. It's messy. And yet they're getting reps, and every time they get a rep, they get better. So we need reps with growth and retention, lots of reps. So let's talk a little team leader. That is, that's my jam. And, the team leader, you guys, owns the growth. You own it. So here's the thing. Each one of us own things. That doesn't mean that it's all ours to carry, right? So I'm responsible for hitting my team, hitting the numbers, and yet I have a team of people that are around me to help me get there. And so just a day in the life of me in the role. I understand how many appointments our market center needs to be on to gross a specific number of agents. Last year, we grossed 137 agents. We netted 72 agents in 2020. And we did that by focusing and committing to activities. And, that was coming into a market center that had not been activity heavy. So you've got to really understand, are you converting at a 4-to-1 conversion rate? So if I want to gross 10 and I'm average with a 4-to-1 conversion rate, I've got to be in 40 appointments a month. And so whether that's me or that's me and somebody else, we know that if we hold 40 appointments, we will gross 10 agents. And so get really clear on, number one, what your goal is and how many appointments you've got to commit to. And then those appointments really, in my opinion, should be blocked in your calendar. If my one thing I'm owning is growth, that's the first thing that's going in my calendar. I need to know how many appointments I need to be on and how much lead generation I got to be in to support that. So that's really critical. And the other thing we do in our market center is every person on our team that recruits does retention appointments, and it's balanced. Okay. So I do 20 external and 20 internal appointments a month. And my day and my week is really set up. It's really set up to support that. So on Fridays, I do one-to-ones with my top 20%, and the rest of the week is set up to support growth. And that's huddles and accountability meetings and growth meetings and trainings. And yet we get to the month and we achieve our goal because we've built our activities to support it. How about you, Sandra?
Yeah, so really, I think that people tend to complicate this. And for me, a day in the life of an MCA is first, top 20% is agent experience. And that covers operations and financials, because when we connect people with what they need to be successful and make the money that helps them with their big why and with their goals, and we make sure they get paid on time, then they're happy. And then they go share with other people what their experience is. And we're fulfilling the commitment that we made when they decided to join us. And so every single morning, the focus should be on, or ideally would be on, agent experience, which is operations related, which would be onboarding related, which would be telling the story, which would be focusing on making sure that we get attendance or a certain percentage of people to attend something that's going to improve their business based on where they are. And then in the afternoon, minimally, every single person should have 2 agent appointments to help consult them in their business. And the goal for me would be to get the entire team to have 2 standing agent appointments to help them in their business. And that every single person on the operations team is fluent in the 4 models of the MREA and clear on how to help an agent apply that, whether it's a 5-minute conversation or an hour. And that's it. And there also is project time in the afternoon that's standing. So if you're working on agent billing, if you're working on revamping your onboarding system, if you're working on a new event that's coming up, you have that standing project time available, and the projects at different times of the month or year will rotate. However, the design of your day is really clear.
Love it. So what does that look like in the team, like on the weekly? So huddles, meetings, how does the team communicate throughout the day and throughout the week to make sure there's a flow and we're all collaborating and working together?
Yeah, so the communication for us is a daily huddle every single morning. So we actually start our days at 8:30 in the morning, and we have a really clear outline of what that huddle looks like. If anyone would like a copy of that huddle, I have an entire outline of what it would look like for a powerful huddle in 15 minutes that inspires, is clear on the numbers, and has everyone walk away clear on their one thing for the day. And my email address is Sandra, SAUNDRA@kw.com. And I'm happy to send it to any of you. However, that huddle, when we didn't have it, we could certainly feel the difference. And every time we have it, which it's just a consistent part of all of our team members being on it every single day, makes the biggest difference in us being in alignment and having powerful results. So we just talk about all of our major initiatives. We get really clear on the numbers, which I know you're also passionate about. And we leave each other, we actually ended in prayer. That's just our personal preference at this market center that we have.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. We do something similar. We actually do a 1 hour meeting, leadership team meeting. We call our team the executive leadership team each Monday. And that is on a same thing. We've got an agenda for that meeting each week. And then we do 30-minute daily huddles the rest of the week as a team. We do a market center team meeting with our entire market center once a week. And that also has an agenda that repeats each month. So we focus on, specific things each week of the month. We do retention calls as a team weekly. I do a profit share power hour weekly. And our team really engages in those things, as well as a shared calendar, which I think we're going to talk about next. And yet we have group chat. There's constant conversation. It's funny when you win together and you lose together. So when our staff's compensation and bonuses are tied to us achieving, for us, it's a net 5 each month. So if our leadership team gets a bonus and we net 5, we are all playing all in until the very last minute to make sure that we're getting the bonus, right? So perfect example, Friday night, 8 p.m. My DFI texts in the group. So she didn't have to do that, but somebody called her and said, oh my gosh, I just passed my license exam. And we spent 5 minutes celebrating as a team on Friday night outside of office hours, because we win together, we lose together. So tons of communication and tons and tons of moments spent really focusing on what we're focusing on to get to that goal. And so, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we do not weekly team meetings for our agents. We do twice a month. And one of them is really words focused. We always have some value, so a panel or something that the agents can take away and implement in their business that month in both of them. And we do monthly awards, and we celebrate listings and closings and first transaction and capper and all of that, so that we can all celebrate our agents constantly. Because there's no such thing as celebrating people too often. And we love doing that. And I used to be a cheerleader, so that works. We also have a quarterly stakeholder meeting. So I don't know if this happened in South Africa or not. However, I know that for the world, everything shifted last March. And it's been shifting, and we've been pivoting since then. And so much that I believe we've probably overused both of those words. And so one of the things that we knew is that we needed to get really transparent and continue to be our authentic selves with our agents. And so quarterly, we have a stakeholders meeting that's not a different label for the team meeting. It's an actual meeting to go over the state of our company at the market center level. and to go through in detail all the challenges we're facing, exactly what we have going on financially to help them understand the health of the business. And in turn, it helps our agents look at their own business in that way and helps them really be authentic with their team on where they stand so that we're all in it together.
Yeah, I'd like to add one little thing to this. Because the team dynamics, like if we hire correctly to our team, everybody's wired a little bit differently, right? Like some of us are a little, more high D, high I, some of us are the high S, high C. I mean, there's a variation. The one thing I would say to encourage you guys is don't be the guy on the team that doubts how we can do everything. And I'll give you an example. You said you guys do a twice a month office meeting. We have always done a once a month office meeting. And about a year ago, my new productivity coach came in and she said, well, why aren't we doing these every week? I mean, we could probably get in front of the agents. And I said, girl, I can tell you why, all the ways it can't happen, because it's so much work and it takes a week and it takes a week to get ready and people don't show up and all of this stuff. And she challenged me and she said, but what if 5 people showed up, or what if just 10 showed up? That's 10 people that we could give value to in that block of time that we wouldn't have given it to otherwise. And really had to step back and say, okay, how could we do it? And so I will say, in my experience in leadership teams, there is sometimes somebody in the room. Challenge is good. It's okay if your initial thought is, I don't know how that'll work. Okay. If people are doing it, that means it's possible. And if it's possible, it's also possible for you. So the question is not, oh my gosh, what are the ways it won't work? It's what's the one way it could work? And how do we go do that? Because there's nothing more challenging in a leadership team than every time you guys have an exciting idea or an idea to bring value, when there's that one person in the room that challenges it, and well, it's not going to work and it's a problem. That has got to stop. Like, we can't move forward if we're not coming from possibility. So look at your team and let's all collectively start thinking together. How could it be possible? And if Sandra's doing it and Tara is doing it, I can do it too. It just means that we're going to have to stretch and grow in some areas to make it happen. So I'm not saying 4 weeks or 2 weeks is right. I'm just saying that if you're not there yet, it is possible. Your team is going to have to grow to get you there. And we bring value every week now to 25 or 35 agents. And during COVID, it saved our life. Like, it really saved us, because that was the one place that they showed up every week that we got to pour into them. So that's my thought on that.
It's so funny that, I mean, I know that you and I are so much in alignment, and yet one of the key things that I had everyone write down during COVID, and shifting Mega Camp and shifting Bold and changing the way that we did everything and going aggressive with our care calls to make sure we stayed connected with our agents. Every time I heard someone have that seed of doubt, which we all have once in a while, had them write down the question, what does this make possible, and keep it in front of them that day.
That's powerful.
Because we just got to talk to Natasha right before this, and she shared how usually there are 9 to 10 speakers at this event when it's in person. And now, because of this format, you have tons of speakers on from all over the world, and you're able to learn so much more from so many more perspectives because it's virtual. And when we just unlimit our thinking in a moment where we feel ourselves closing in because it's not how we expected it to be, so many bigger things can happen. So I would just challenge you the way that Tara just did, and the way that I've challenged several people around me this year, this past year, and currently, we've done it a couple times this month already, to write down the question, what does this make possible? And that's true at home, and that's true in your business, and that's true for your agents. And then whatever your answer is, just go do it without worrying about if it's perfect or not. Just go do it.
Yeah. And if you've not read the book Dare to Lead by Brené Brown, conflict is healthy. In a leadership team, conflict is healthy. It's just how we navigate it in a way that respects the people on our team and moves us all forward. So don't be afraid to voice a concern, and quickly get into possibility with your team, because that's where you do unlimit everything you guys can accomplish together. So let's talk. You said something about like writing things down. And I know market centers can be crazy. GPS 411, like what are we tracking? What are we writing down? What does that look like in a great team?
Yeah, so we've all recently been studying the 12-week year, and I think a lot of people are excited about that topic. However, none of the information is really new or unique. Gary and Diana already had Bold and already had Quantum Leap, and we already had all of these great classes. The one thing that covered the same topics that are covered in that book, right? So we are all tracking for our entire leadership team the net worth of every single person. So whether they're starting off in debt or whether they have several investment properties already and they have a great investment portfolio, it doesn't matter where they start, as long as we track where they start for the year and where they're going to end the year. We just want there to be progress and for us to help hold them accountable to that and be a part of it together. And we're also tracking GPSs. So we have a very clear, defined goal, just like you were talking about earlier, for the market center. And for us, that is net agent count and net company dollar recruited, because we know when we do that, that's going to impact the profit share, and our agents would have produced what we intended for them to. And then we also have the 411, and every single person that has a direct report has a 15-minute 411 session weekly. And the conversation is easy. It's just, what was your goal? How did you do? Based on that, what are you going to do now? And do you have what you need to do it? And it puts the full empowerment and belief in the person that you're having the conversation with, that you trusted to hire, that they have the ability to make that decision. And then it asks them if they have what they need to do it, and then you can support them in it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm in agreement on those systems 100%. The only other thing we do, and I think you do this as well, is we have a shared calendar. If you're in our market center leadership team, you have shared your Google Calendar with every person on the team, and not just where we can see it, where we can edit it. And it's not an intrusive thing. It's a, Saturday night at 9 p.m. I get a text message from a recruit that says, hey, can I come in and learn about XYZ? And they're in a classification of an agent that I don't meet with. I can quickly open the calendar. I can see my team's calendar, and I can say, hey, I think this time will work on Monday. Let me loop you guys together, blah, blah, blah. So it's good for that. It's also good for accountability, and it just allows you to have a cohesive team. So I would highly recommend the shared calendar as well.
We do. We have everyone shared as well. That's great.
Yeah, it's good. So last thing, I know we just have a couple minutes left. Let's talk a little bit about storytelling. How I can share a little bit about how we're sharing stories, but also how the stories tie back the value of the market center to our agents, internal and external, right? So just a quick little piece for me. When I came into the market center I'm a part of, it was really not in a great place. And I needed to quickly change the story. I needed to change the culture and the story of our market center. And how I did that, I needed to learn it first. So rule number one of storytelling is, do you know your own story? And by the way, if you're not telling your story, somebody else is, right? So we have to be the one to own and write and share that story. And so I actually went through my market center and I met with our top agents. I called every agent that had left my market center since we opened. And I called all of the agents in our CRM that had met with us and didn't join the company, because that didn't make any sense to me, and asked all of them what went well, what didn't go well, and why are you not in business with us, right? And I asked my internal agents the same thing. What's going well? What are you hearing in the market? What do we need to improve on? And we actually did some real strategic things through social media. We shot videos that were objection handlers to the stories we didn't want told, and we promoted them all over social media. We do lots and lots on social media, and feature our agents and feature their wins and feature where their business is up, and spend a lot of time celebrating them. If you follow me on Facebook, go look in the last week or so, we did top 20% posts all over 45 agents. I went and posted congrats on being in the top 20% on their page. And I had to turn off notifications because they were getting celebrated over a week later. So celebrate your people, and then always go back and tie the change in their story and the change in their life to what the company has done for them. So do your agents know their own story, and how have we impacted their story in a way that they're out sharing the same story with other people? So how are you guys sharing stories, Sandra, in your market?
Yeah, this is also one of my favorite topics. So I love that we're talking about it. So we are constantly, I'm just always asking people, what helped you or what worked? One of my favorite questions is what worked. And many times they will self-discover what about Keller Williams or about leadership or about our productivity coaching program helped them with what they're achieving. And I love challenging people constantly, and my team does as well. So sometimes people will come in and say, well, we had 10 listings this month and it's the most we've ever taken in a month. And I'm like, well, when are you doing 15? Right? And what does that look like? So I think it's the language that's going on all the time where you can get the answers of what's working for the agents in little tidbits. And I've challenged my staff this year that if you hear an agent say something that worked, don't overthink it. Don't worry about what you look like on video. Don't worry about if the language is going to be perfect. Have them tell the story on the spot. So literally go Facebook Live within our closed Facebook group for the Market Center, and go ahead and have them talk about what worked so that it can make it possible for someone else listening, or inspire someone who is stuck today that we didn't even know needed it. And I do little short interviews of agents. So I pay attention to the percentage growth in each of our agents' businesses. And when I notice people that have had significant growth in their business, I actually just have a set of 5 questions that I sit down. I say, hey, can I interview you on Zoom? Usually they say no. And then I say, well, people really need to hear your story. And then I just Zoom with them. I set up a time. I ask them what their goal was, how they achieved it, what that meant for their family, what specifically they did differently last year that they believe helped them, and what their goal is for the experience that their clients are going to have this year. And that way, it not only celebrates them, it also gives them the opportunity to talk about what's important to them and why they're having the success. So it helps them get more business. So it's just a little short video that's kind of dual purpose.
Yeah, it almost feels like we should have started this with what's your story, because you can craft us the story that you want your market center to have in the market, and build the company and the people and the culture to support that. And one thing I ask a lot of team leaders that I coach through MAPS is, how are you bringing, what does it look like for you to bring so much value to the marketplace outside of your company, so that agents outside of Keller Williams are calling and asking you to be their real estate coach? So it's the same thing for us as leaders. We've got to show up and live out the story that we want to see our agents experience too. So I think Natasha is saying we're out of time. We could talk all day about storytelling. You guys, thank you so much for just the honor to be here with you. And if you have questions, I think you can reach Sandra and I, our contact information. And we appreciate being here with you guys. It's really an honor. Go lead strong and be AW agent.